Welcome to another fabulous edition of the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. I'm your host with the most, Vicky Rameau, writer, producer, just an excellent person all around. Everybody loves me. I have no haters. I have no enemies. I'm just the most loved person in the entire country. You're welcome. Today's episode of the show is probably something I've been talking about and thinking about for about 2 years. For the past 2 years, I've been working in the music industry as a publicist to a Sierra Leonean artist from Wellington Street. And as we do the work, or as I work to tell stories about his music, the thing that keeps coming up to me is, how do I tell the world what this artist is trying to do? How do I explain what Sierra Leone music is? How do I find something for everyone, for people who are not from Sierra Leone to connect with, so that we can move this artist and his music and his work globally? As you know, afrobeats is the fast rising, well, sometimes not so fast rising again, because it's just here, right? Afrobeats is here. And when people think of contemporary modern pop music from Africa, the first thing they think about today is Afrobeats. Afrobeats is a blended genre of African and Western pop music, right? So this is a genre that's come about kind of like the Grand Pikin of Hip Life, the Grand Pikin of what you say, Paman music. It's so many different elements of African music and African identity in one, put together with, some R&B, some hip hop, some, reggae, raga. And so now we have this thing, but this thing, the people who have been most successful at it so far are Nigerians, right? So the language, the style, a lot of it, say Nigerians, anything they involve pan. Then they take, even if not to then get answers. Sometimes they write answers, some people go think, say, I'm piano, and Nigeria come on. Because anything you get, if Nigeria man puts on pana, then they make it like their own. So for smaller countries like Sierra Leone and smaller markets, what we find is that artists are thinking or aspiring to be the next Whiskey, the next Davido. And as a result of that, even if they're not necessarily into Afrobeats, specifically the genre, they're thinking, if I want to go big, I need to make an Afrobeat song. I need to make Afrobeat music. I need to sound like the people who make Afrobeats or who are making the biggest Afrobeat songs. In order to go global, right, to take your music to an international level, the genre matters, but also numbers matter. We're living in a world where it's all about the streaming numbers. Sierra Leone is a very tiny country. You can be the top artist from Sierra Leone and still not make a speck or a dot on the music scene globally, not because your music isn't good, but just because the streaming numbers aren't there. So today's show, I wanted to talk about naming and branding Sierra Leonean music for global exports. And by that, I mean, how do we as Sierra Leone find a genre or find a way to market and produce music from Sierra Leone that can reach the global market, right? Because at the end of the day, we small naya. Say you not able to make a big that this world if na Salone no you music they reach. We want our artists to make Sierra Leone famous globally with their creative music. We want them to make the world dance. With me in the studio today, I have two people who have a lot of experience in music production in Sierra Leone and who are going to help me kind of figure out how we get there, because otherwise we're not going to get respect. Right now, the way we don't respect you in Africa, na either pan football, they do well in that, or technology, we know they do well in that, film, we know they do well in that, fashion, we know they do well yonder. So at least, my thing is, let we do the music, maybe we can do music, then go sabi we day, right? My guests for today are two music producers. My first guest is Joseph Seydou Koroma. Wow, okay, so that's your real name. Nice, thank you. There you go. I understand how you know they use them. It's not very sexy for the entertainment industry. I have with me Joseph Seydou Koroma, professionally known as Nashito Kulala. He's an award-winning music producer, has his own record label, and he works in the industry as a consultant. He also runs a newly formed management company for young talent, which I'm sure he'll tell us all about later. Welcome to the show, Nashito.
Thank you very much.
First of all, can you tell me what does Nashito Kulala mean? I feel like Kulala means trouble. Is that what it, like, you know, when I say Kulala, palava, wahala, Kulala, and stress? That's how I think of it. Is that like, how is that?
Well, specifically, no.
Oh, it does not mean Kulala? No. Kulala doesn't mean like palava?
Well, in some, for some people.
Okay,
yes.
What does it mean to you, sir?
Well, actually, the person who gave me the name was actually given to me. And the person who gave me the name just called me Kulala for no reason.
I don't know. See. No, it not go be for no reason. Say you not ask him.
Well, I've never actually asked.
Okay, dear, where you going house today? Must ask for it. And where did you get Nashito?
Well, Nashito stemmed from Nash. I used to play basketball in school. And, Steve Nash was a basketball player.
Okay. A little baller. Okay, I got it. Gotcha. Our next guest today, he's already been on another episode. Okay. You know, sometimes the headphones and the fashion really just doesn't go together. But as a woman who is stubborn, I will try to make it work. And it's not working today. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these off so that we don't have these headphones pushing my earrings off throughout the show. But they're cute. You understand why I had to do this. Was not functional, but you know, it has happened. My next guest for today is a really good friend of mine and someone I respect very much in filmmaking. And then I recently learned that, well, okay, I always know say you don't do music work, but not to the extent that I recently learned. So welcome to the studio, John Akinola, who, in addition to being a world-recognized cinematographer, producer, and director, was also heavily involved in the rise of Salone pop music between 2005 and 2012. He was the music producer and manager for a lot of hit songs that you may know and recognize from Tufut Arata and Rise. These are, as you know, I think, Emerson's second and third album, right? And Emerson, of course, in my opinion, he's the greatest contemporary act or artist that has come out of Sierra Leone in the post-war era. John also produced Nami Kamso by DJ Lulu. Everybody knows that song. That was like a big hit. I don't remember other songs on the album, but I remember Nami Kamso, DJ Lulu. He also produced for Raga Spice Wahid. And I just found this out that he's responsible for like my best Sierra Leonean song, Buberry's Ka Buka, which a lot of people need to do. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you.
All right. So before we get into the show, I wanted to start from the root, right? And by the root, I mean, I want us to first listen to what I think Sierra Leone music is, right? When I think of the music way me can think of, I can think about Salone music, where I feel say, now the foundation, now we people that they use for culture, for tradition, for everyday life. Where you go across Salone and Salone people, then they, you know, because when does music come? Music comes for festivals. Music comes for Pulnado, society, business, community, bearing, and married. That's when, you know, we play, you know, harvest. That's when music comes in our society. So I wanted to share with you some music that actually one of the first producers of my TV show, his name is Luke Wasserman. For several years, Luke was living in Sierra. He's an American, I want to say he's an ethnomusicologist, but I'll just say he's into music. He's a music fan. So Luke was living in Sierra Leone and traveling to different parts of the country. And whenever there was some kind of like traditional event and local indigenous musicians were playing, he would record them. So we're going to start by listening. And he's just released like a 6-volume no, 7 volume album that has music from Timni people, Soso people, Mende people, people from music from Shabro Island. And I think it's just a really rich body of work for anybody who is in the music space, who's looking for inspiration that is authentically us. This is a good place to start. Please play volume 2, music from the Timni people of Suktar. And now I would like to take you, listeners, to the Mende people of Mayamba. And this is Quello Glama. Now I'm going to take you from Mayamba. Let's go to Lunge and listen to music from the Soso people of Lunge. All right. That was Marafain Garamuna. So, yeah, Nashito, when you hear this music, what comes to your mind?
Wow. First of all, I've listened to 3 different sets of people, singing music, and they all sound different. There is some sort of distinction between like the instrumentation and the vocal, delivery. And this just brings to mind that our culture is very rich in what we actually have and how people can use our musical forms to actually express themselves in their local languages, and just how beautiful it sounds, because they all sound like coordinated and joyful together.
John, do you think that there's enough here musically to build something? As a producer, I can definitely say I'm not a producer. I don't have a music person's ear, but I can hear composition, right? And from the composition of what I hear, I can feel musical value, right? And as I'm listening to this, I'm like, pull this, put this. You've got a bop. Like,
I think there's, like you said, each song you played had different elements to it. The second song struck me. It's something I've always thought about. The harmonies that the singers had. That is a unique harmony to Sierra Leone. There are some minor notes in that harmony that is distinct to that kind of music, and that's something.
that was the Mende,
Yeah,
the Mende medley. Yeah.
And that's something we can incorporate in our modern music. Bits of it here and there. I think if we want to stand out, you were talking about Afrobeat in your introduction. You don't have to always reinvent the wheel. You take elements from different places and then you mash it together. So you can take popular music, take some of these elements that are unique to us from Sierra Leone, infuse it into what we have now, and boom. I mean, if you go and do exactly what the Nigerians are doing, they're going to beat you at the game every single time.
Speak Chinese better than China, man.
There'll be outliers, like you mentioned Knack earlier. There'll be outliers like that. But then when you bring in your own unique elements to it, it makes you get a niche that is yours. And everybody that comes behind you has to follow you because you're the master at this. So, I mean, in that second song, it was the harmonies. In the last song, it was the way the bass drum dropped every 2 beats. It wasn't a one-drop thing. And that's an element you can produce you can incorporate like in Afro soul music. And that would be very unique to us. In the percussion, same thing. Like the elements that are just unique to us. I think about Bubu music, for example. It's one drop music, but there's this rich bass heavy instrument we use in Bubu music, like how the South Africans have this, very the log drum. That we can incorporate in our music, mid-tempo music, high-tempo music, and there's nothing like it anywhere else in the world that I've heard. These are things we can use to stand out, and if we push it out to the world, I believe everybody's looking for some. I believe like the American music industry, for example, right now is struggling because they have no fresh sounds to give to the world.
Then don't chop, then don't school. Then don't drill. Chop, school, drill.
Exactly.
Like that's the way they not do.
Exactly.
They don't auto-tune. They've done everything humanly possible to music.
I've seen industry people on social media in the US complaining about how Burna Boy and Wizkid and Davido are selling out shows in the US last summer. And a lot of their own trap artists and the new young guys are not really selling out shows.
Selling out Madison Square Garden is not, like, it's no joke.
Twice
It is no joke.
in the same week. It's no joke.
It's no joke. It's
selling
no
out the
joke.
O2 back to back to back.
It's not,
like
no,
it's not three times in a row.
It's not even a joke. I don't think that people understand. If you've never been to these spaces, you don't really like stadium. The biggest physical space where we get na Salone, na the National Stadium. So for person we're not ever going to Madison Square Garden, or person we're not ever go inside O2. You not go able understand what we they talk about in terms of like the population. It's like, I mean, I went to a concert over the summer. I'm gonna name drop, but I went to a concert over the summer with Idris Elba and Drizzleek and Mrs. Elba, and it was the Weeknd's concert. Like, I don't be even able to understand. If you see population, the entire thing was sold out. One green person on, like, it is so real. So no, I think that, like, for lay you not come on side. you famble they're not there, you uncle they're not there. You are not from this place, right? If Dolly Parton sells out Madison Square Garden, she's supposed to. It's Dolly Parton. But for lay you come on, wait, Olu Olegba. Pong Oju Olegba yanda. Like we go say Bagbatok. Come on, Pong Bagbatok. You go, it's not something that any of us imagined would happen in our lifetime because no one else has done it.
Right.
Now, interesting thing, like you just ended with Ojuelegba, that's associated with Wizkid. What Wizkid did with this album, what's the name?
Welcome to Lagos.
Made in Lagos.
Made in Lagos, okay.
Was an experimentation in its final form.
Right.
Before that, he put out an EP called Sound from the Other Side.
Yeah.
It wasn't very popular, but what he was doing in that EP
Was testing the waters.
Testing the waters, like taking the Western sound and taking the Nigerian sound and melding it. And I believe that album was very instrumental in the latest like explosion.
Absolutely,
of
absolutely,
Afrobeat,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And that was fusion.
Yeah.
That was fusion of Afro R&B and slowing down our Afrobeat to a certain level, and bringing in the Nigerian element of it.
Because African music fast.
Exactly.
African music now fast, intimidating music. Whether it's mannequin can okay, no application it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I believe we can look at that model and create something very new and rich and like unique to us here and push it to the world.
Nashito, when you're in the studio today, right, you're working with all kinds of artists.
Right.
Is it you that's kind of deciding the direction, the creative direction or the sound? Or is it that the artists are coming in with a strong sense of musical identity, a worldview or perspective that they want to share? And I guess, and I'm asking that because who's informing what's coming out of the studio? Because what I'm hearing here is a lot of the same thing, right? So I'm trying to understand, like, is it because the producer they decide say na so for sound or the artist? Like, what is driving contemporary music right now in Sierra Leone?
Okay, so in my situation, it's normally a give and take.
Okay.
So when an artist comes to the studio, I firstly ask, what do you have in mind? Do you have like a creative direction? Do you have like a sound that you want to actually produce? Of course, as a music producer, I'm just like, the creative director at the end of the day because, I'm the one creating the music and stuff. But then it happens that in most situations, the artists come with an idea, but most times it's not original. It's coming from a standpoint as in, okay, well, now there's this Afro, this kind of sound. Okay, I want us to go this way.
Okay.
So one thing I developed over the past year is that I advise artists that there's certain type of music I will not create. I want to be part of, doing things the Nigerian way, especially when it comes to lyrics and, the way they sound.
Right.
I'm like, because there's so much untapped, sounds and ideas that we need to utilize from our culture, and we're just letting it go because we're not putting value to it. Because I believe if you're creative as well, you need to dig deeper, in terms of where you're getting your inspiration from, where you're getting your sounds from. But if you always come into the studio and say, okay, I have this song, we don't need play, we don't need trend, I want to let me song sound like this and that. So in situations like that, when artists already have like an idea which is not original, which of course we maybe at the end of the day we don't get any Salone kind of background to it, I find a way of striking a fair balance. I'll give you your own rights to what you also want to do, but I also have what I also want to incorporate into the music that gives some sort of Salone identity, if not even in the instrumentation, but in the lyrics, at least. There's something about something about Creole or something about something about language, but not the beat is totally Afrobeat, and then the language is also totally pidgin and stuff like that. So I normally try to advise in that direction.
John, from a okay. So you're talking about Knack, and I think that other than there are some songs I think about when I think about the biggest songs that have made it out of Sierra Leone that Sierra Leoneans have exported. I think about Tutu Party. It's the one song that perhaps since it came out, we're at Travel outside of Salone, like even as still the Yegi, right? That people still connect to that song. I don't know if people always know it's a Sierra Leonean song. They just know it like, drop the beat. They're not sabi the artist, they're not sabi say come out. Just play that one song. Then, Tutu Party, just play it, right? I think of S.C. Roji, and I think of Bonnie Mac, My Sweetie. And those are there might be other ones, but in my mind, those are like the songs that are the biggest songs. And then most recently, Knack. I think that in modern day, Knack is the biggest song to come out of Sierra Leone. I won't say it's the biggest Sierra Leonean song. And if we look at it by if you look at all the elements, right, that made that song a hit song, in my mind, I think perhaps this is what needs to exist for a Sierra Leonean song to break through globally. A song by a Sierra Leonean artist to break through globally, right? And so when I look at Knack, I say, okay, I can think of maybe 4 or 5 elements, right? One, it's that Creebs International has the capital, right? They have the financial resources to be able to invest in quality production and also to maybe give it additional legs, like a video, et cetera, like all of the things that make things, the music, the business side of the music, right? And then you have an ace producer. I think it was Mastercraft, right. Correct? You have an ace producer that is known for, like, he understands afrobeats, he understands the music business. Then you have a young man who, for all intents and purposes, is very beautiful to look at, right? He's outstanding. And by outstanding, I mean, when people think of Sierra Leone or Sierra Leoneans, he is not who comes to mind. He's mixed race. And so he has all these people looking at him like, oh, he's so beautiful. Look at this long hair, curly. Fantastic for like marketing and branding, right? 4, he's a TikToker, has 2 million followers. 5, he uses a language that identifies the music immediately you listen to it as Nigerian, right? So those 5 elements kind of like come together. And okay, I forgot the genre and piano, right? At a time when it's the top thing. So we have 6 things that come together. Is this the model for if you're a Sierra Leonean artist, is this the model? Like, is this the model that's available? And if it is it then such a bad thing for them to want to sound like a Sierra Leone, like Nigerian artists?
There's so many ways that music can go out and pop off. His song, Knack, is an Amapiano song. Of course, Amapiano is popular. All the elements you mentioned came together and made it successful. Now, the thing is, in Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians don't know that he's not Nigerian.
Of course. I don't think a lot of people in the world know.
Exactly.
I think, so I've heard the song several places in the US. And it's played, it's almost like there's a playlist of like Afrobeats hits, and it's in the playlist, right? But nobody knows who the artist is, or nobody knows where the song is from. They just think it's a Nigerian song.
So that's where you say Creebs International's role came in, because they invested in promoting the song, making sure it was in the right places, in the marketing of the song and all of that. But then in terms of a Sierra Leonean identity, it doesn't have one. No. And you mentioned some other songs, Emerson's song, Tutu Party. Tutu Party plays everywhere, but nobody can say Tutu Party is a Nigerian song.
No.
It's just a really good song.
Yeah, it's just a song. It's just a hit. It's just a banger. Yeah.
And if I've met someone in the airport in Abidjan before, and they were like, "Oh, where do you come from?" I'm like, "Sierra Leone," and they were like, "Oh, I know a guy.
Yeah.
His name is Emerson. He's from Sierra Leone," because these people listen to that song.
That song does have a very like even though not Creole, it does have that like
So that's
sukus, that like magic system. It has a magic system vibe.
it's an evolution of palm wine music.
Right,
In my mind.
right.
You know, the guy who produced it was produced in Bodyguard Studios, Kingfisher. There was a guy that did the instrumentation. I'm forgetting his name now. But that guy was a master at palm wine music. He
don't die?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you just don't remember who he was.
I don't remember.
Right.
I can picture him now. I just can't remember his name.
Okay. Emerson might probably remember him if he reached out. Yeah.
But that guy was a master at palm wine music, and he was so original in what he did.
For our listeners who don't know what palm wine music is, can you? Well, actually, let's play Tutu Pati. I mean, how could you not love it? How could you?
Bodyguard for life. From body to body. If you want enjoy fine, come to party. Till we go shake to day all my feel like yeah.
Okay, you can bring it down.
I'm me so then.
You know, yeah, like even now you play it right now anywhere. Like it's just a big band kind of music. And when I listen to it, like the harmonies are not great. The vocals are not great, but the music is so big and infectious. Like,
so here's the thing.
what makes that, like, what do you hear in that, like in terms of like the music that gives it that palm wine sound?
So if you listen, it was guitars that introduced the song, and then there's the one drop, and then there's the hi-hat, which is like opens and closes, and it's a very high life, very palm wine music thing.
It's like big band, like it's a big band.
So palm wine music in the 60s and 70s got influenced by a lot of disco. So
Big band music,
exactly. So what you have there is all these elements of palm wine music in that song. Now, the interesting thing about Bodyguard Studios when I moved back was that Kingfisher was very intentional with all the artists he worked with.
Okay.
That their songs have to sound like Sierra Leonean music.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
He was very intentional about it.
Where is he today? Is he still
He's still
Okay.
alive.
Okay.
He's still there.
Okay.
Great guy in terms of how he influenced a lot of artists, even artists that were not under his label.
Sure.
In terms of how their music sounded and all of that, he was very intentional about making it sound Sierra Leonean. And these were the influences he incorporated. I remember when I started working with him, and he was just like, "John," they used to call me Stitch. And the reason was...
Oh, is that why is it like your Twitter or something is John Stitch?
Yeah. So the Stitch name was actually...
You're putting shit together.
Exactly.
You're mixing it like...
That's
Stitch master.
Yeah. And so he would like, okay, let's do a dancehall song for this dancehall artist. But you see that Salone sound with the puta inside it.
Right.
That Salone percussion with the puta inside it. That Salone guitar, palm wine guitar with the puta inside it. Now, the interesting thing is that palm wine music originates from Sierra Leone.
Right.
And now there is a band, actually the people behind Thames in Nigeria.
Okay.
One of the main guys is a guy called Tech. He's a rapper.
Okay.
They have a group they call Show Them Camp.
Yeah.
Now, Show Them Camp is owning palm wine music.
Okay.
Their last 2 or 3 big albums have been called Palm Wine Volume 1, Palm Wine Music Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. And if you listen to the sounds, it is Salone music.
Right.
And people are buying into it, but they're a hip-hop group, and hip-hop is not like as big
No,
now.
nobody will come on Africa. I mean, I tell people, I'm like, people in Africa love hip hop, but hip hop is not African music.
Yeah.
And if you want to be, you can be the best hip hop artist in Africa and never have big commercial success.
Sure.
You can get respect, like say, oh, dope lyricist, but we're not playing you in the nightclubs because we're not able to dance to your music.
Exactly.
Nashito, who are some of the artists that you're working with right now? Why do you smile? I don't know if I'm talking about that smile. That it's like a smile of hesitation. Like, hey, God, why? Okay. I will reframe the question because in order to be more diplomatic, who are some of the artists in Sierra Leone today, whether you're working with them or not, whether you've worked with them or not, that you think have a kind of musical perspective or identity, right? That has the potential to be exportable or marketable. And by potential, either if it gets the right this or the right that, but who are the people that are climbing, or maybe they've not even started climbing yet, that you think, really, we need to look at these people because they're bringing this or that, and tell us what they're bringing, what they offer for our music that could potentially, if the right elements kind of, we had a congruence of like the right things that would be easiest to market or sell or trade. I mean, not trade. Sorry, I don't want to trade. We're not together. We just market and promote them.
Incredible JJ is one.
Okay.
The new kid from Kenema.
Okay.
And
What do you think JJ has that could potentially make him marketable or exportable?
So JJ, in his raw form, is trying to infuse his local language, the Mende language, into modern day contemporary Afro music. And recently, he's also been trying to not only use the language, but also bring in a blend of the old and the new.
Okay.
And why I think is a potential is because this is what really we need to do, especially when we talk about branding Sierra Leone music for export, is that we need to infuse the elements that define our music. Because like previously when you played the songs from the Mende people, the Timini and the Soso people, you can actually identify unique sounds and rhythms that define, the music movement. And so I believe what he's trying to do right now is see how he can bring that old into the new and just like modernize it. Because, I think the problem Sierra Leone music has currently is that we have lost confidence in how valuable our sound can become.
Sure,
to take it out there.
Sure.
Generally, you go to like a punadu or you go to like a traditional like a marriage, we dance our feet off to like the Gumbe people and stuff. But when it gets to the club, it's like, this music is too local. It's not music that we should produce for.
Unless it's something that one person that I think has if na possible sabi waiting salon people they like we able blend the old and make them like for people that na Akman. Guys,
I just need one artist first.
Okay, no, I know when you talk that, but say people then go listen to Gumbe na us, but we then go na club, they don't listen to that.
Right.
I think Akman is one artist who, if you go married party, then go play him.
Right.
But if you also come out, like you go party, they'll play Akman because there's a thing that Akman has. I don't know what's name, but it's where I hear Akman. I know sing a salon music I listen to. Right?
And
he has that.
And another person like that currently in our industry is Famous.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely Famous. Famous is like, and I don't want to say yes. I think of Famous as like when he's not doing other stuff, but when he does his Salone type, because sometimes he tries to like go out of it and he loses me because I'm like, Paddy man, we don't already figure this thing out. I don't want, just like come back to like, I think that he's somebody who's really taken the Milo jazz Gumbe. Like for me, I feel like he's out the closest thing we have to Dr. Allah, except that like he's not necessarily performing with a band and he's not really creating new lyrically, he's not bringing like new stories. Because what Dr. Ola was good at is the music never changed, right? But like it was folk music, right?
Storytelling.
You know, Mama lights lamp na gumo, Papa say na for otamo. What? It's like there's mi kokoro so how you manage sote you kokoro so the music for those two songs are exactly the same, right? The only thing that ever changes is the stories. And I don't feel like what's his name? I don't feel like Famous has that's like folklore griot dropping one line and you're like, you know what? You have just told the whole story.
Right.
Who else do you think is in line in that way that can be exported?
And I think the most obvious is Drizzly.
Okay.
So I listened to his last album, the Ashobi album. And in that album, you see a body of work that is bringing, infusing the Salone sound into the modern, hip hop music and Afro music. And to a very large extent, I was so moved by, the courage, because quite honestly, most of the young people now, especially at the point when Salone music changed and when people lost interest in Salone music and began to listen to Afro music, it's been a very painstaking thing for artists to sum up that courage to say that, okay, I can still be authentic with Salone music and actually be bold with it and bring my creativity into it. And I saw Drizzly doing that in his previous album. And it made so much sense.
How do I say? I know people are going to be shocked to hear this. I did not love the Ashobi album. And I'll tell you why. So to date, I think that I think Shukublai as an album is a bigger body of work. Like that for me is it's a master class in this is who I am, this is where I'm from. It's an amazing Ashobi. I struggle with that album. I'm just gonna tell you because you know what I heard about in Ashobi? In Ashobi, I hear an artist that's like, this is who I am, yeah, I'm proud of who I am, but at the same time, I want for try last see if other thing go work so that like it can, you know what I mean, crossover, which is not a bad thing from a business perspective. Yeah. But creatively, I'm just like, it's a hard album. As publicist, very hard album for me to sell. And by sell, I mean tell a story about. Because it's like, I have songs that belong together and songs that don't belong together, right? I have Ashobi and I have Awujo. Right? I'm like, okay, we have the Salone track. And then I have drill, I have hip hop, I have reggae, I have R&B. So it's like from a publicist perspective, when I'm doing outreach to publications, and there's even no afrobeats on that album. Right? And so like, look at me trying to send a pitch to like a public. So this is like our top artist from Sierra Leone. He's really great. No, he really is. And here are like some of his songs, but I can't, it's genre-less, right? In a way. And for me, that's the hardest thing because the world wants something it can easily understand. Do you understand? I'll not be able, if not, I've been wish way it been sign me as in publicist now, we make Shukublai. If I was the one to handle that, we would have gone international.
But in terms of his journey, I think it's an important album.
Because
at some point,
exactly. So
an artist has to evolve, and you
Sure.
have to kind of find your feet.
Okay.
So what?
Anyway, to the Drizzly fans, please don't hate me. Please. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just trying to tell you that if the goal is to export and market, it's hard to export something that doesn't have a place to fit, right? It's like, anyways, Nashi, sorry.
So what I was gonna say is when you mentioned the EP by
Whiskey, Sounds from the Other Side.
So of course.
Like you think Ashobi is the EP for the next step?
One thing I'll say, and one thing I personally took note of in the Ashobi album was that it was really not an album for the very things you just mentioned.
Like not a full body of work.
Because an album, of course, it's a storyteller. It has to be he has to have a direction and stuff. But I saw him, he was trying different stuff.
Yeah.
He was, infusing different genres and stuff. But I believe that is probably maybe for his next step. But why I specifically mentioned the Afrobeat album when you asked the question is because, that is just what I think Sierra Leoneans really need to do to have that courage and confidence to bring in, our culture into
Right.
Music actually sweet,
I agree.
It's actually nice.
I actually
but
agree.
we just feel like it's too local, but so when people are being to add that value to it, that's why I specifically mentioned that.
I'm a huge Juice League fan, by the way. I just want to say that. On my Spotify and my Apple on Rap, almost every year he's my top artist. So I just want to put that in and not say, hey, so like this. Anyway, so Afrobeats this year, 2023, Afrobeats hit 15 billion streams on Spotify. To add to that, we have artists hitting 1 billion. I think Rima hit 1 billion streams with his song that he featured. What's her name? Selena Gomez. And then also this year, the Grammy announced like an best African music album for the first time. Prior to this, there was like a global music, like best global act Grammy Award, which we know, of course, the queen of the Grammys is Angelique Kidjo. Now wait, Angelique Kidjo no wants Grammy. It's like, because remember, she went to the Grammys one year when Burna Boy was whatever, and she literally said, "This is time for other African artists. Yemi Alade, Burna Boy, It's time for Africa." Then they say, "Okay, fine." And see, you don't give me permission, they will give you that person. After they give Burna Boy that, now they go give him back. They say, "Sorry, ma." And see, now you've been saying that. So, yeah. And she's one artist who I feel like from the very, very beginning has been so sure and confident in who she is as I think she's from Benin, a Beninois artist, as an African artist. In her early days, when she actually took her first couple works to Paris, right, to get them produced, they told her, this is not African music. This is not, because, she has like a jazz element in it. They're like, this is not African music. And she basically said, and I know this because my friend Kobe Graham interviewed her in London many, many years ago. She said, "I'm an African. I am making music. This is my music. This is African music because I say so," right? And I think that what I've really enjoyed about her over the years is that it's like the conviction in the belief, they stray. Do you understand? This is when you buy an Angelique Kidjo album, you know what you're getting, right? Which is why I think for us, as you're talking about us not having confidence in what we have, that until we get to a place where we believe that we are of value, we will never give anything to the world that has substance because we will only ever be a second-rate or third-rate version of the original if it's something that's important. John, where do you think the money or investment is going to come from or should come from for the No, I'm going to talk about the money.
You see how we look with that?
No, we Nigerian brother can say better soup.
Yeah.
Now money kill him, right? And we've talked about Knack that if Knack became what it was, a big part of it was marketing, right? It was money, like being able to have the capital to take the song where it needs to go. Yeah. How do we get to a place where, okay, if we decide that there is music here that can be the source of greatness for our artists and for our music and for global export, how do we fund it? How do we finance it? How do we, where should people be looking for resources? Or even if the resources aren't available, what needs to happen within the industry, like the different actors in the industry, to get the music out of Sierra Leone?
So this is a very big topic. The business of music has been struggling for as long as I know in Sierra Leone. And
why do you think that is?
No, I don't think it's for lack of willing investors. There have been people who have thrown money at music in Sierra Leone, thrown money at artists in Sierra Leone. I think the problem has always been that we don't have like very experienced, innovative music industry executives.
Okay.
That has been a big problem.
Okay.
One of the reasons for the success of Nigerian music is because they had people at the critical time that were working in the industry in Europe and America in the biggest labels. And then they had people in Nigeria who also stuck to the origin of the sound and the identity, because they had to find an identity. And they rallied around the identity. Recently, I think Burna Boy was saying something like, "I'm not an Afrobeat artist.
I'm Afrofusion.
I'm Afrofusion."
Yes.
And yeah, that's him trying to do his own unique thing.
Because if you create a new table, you can be the head of the table.
But then when you look at the reaction of the other Nigerian artists, they're like, "Nah, we're Afrobeat artists."
Yeah.
Because they recognize it is a brand now. It's a brand. It might not, the authenticity of the brand might be questioned, but it is a brand.
They're core elements, right? It's identifiable.
Exactly.
Right. It's identifiable.
So, but that took some senior men in the industry in Nigeria.
And a long time, right?
Yeah.
If we think of African Queen,
exactly.
Right? We think of African Queen as the beginning of the big global export of like African music or Afrobeats, right? You have African Queen. From African Queen to Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
Even that was like maybe a decade or something, a long time.
Yeah.
From D'banj to Wizkid, Ojuelegba, that's even like, it's not like a sequence of this thing happened, this thing, this. It's just that now though, because there is a brand, right? It is so much easier for artists to ride a wave because African Queen not been get wave for ride. We actually thought that Oliver Twist was as big as African music would go. Yeah. At one point, like Naina being the new bar, say, oh my God, even there would be talk about, there was this rumor that, or maybe it was true, Kanye West was signing D'banj because that convinced us to think that the way to make it, now we get for go to them.
Exactly. In fact, there were a lot of deals like that at the time.
Yes,
Wizkid was signed by Akon's whatever.
Yes, I remember.
But, it did not work.
It did not.
Because our own system is quite different.
Yep.
Now, what a lot of people don't know, there are quite a few big men behind the industry.
Stakeholders.
Stakeholders.
The music stakeholders.
Who have just sat down and gathered this wisdom in the business over years. And, every time a D'banj does an album, a Don Jazzy does an album. Exactly. Now, they play it for them and they give creative direction and stuff like that. And some of these guys are the guys that sat down and said, you know what, let's create this thing and let's all put our energies behind it.
Right.
Everybody's on their own, doing their own thing. But in terms of an identity, let's create a force that the rest of the world can, and that is something I think we need to do here.
I agree.
Everybody's in their camps in Sierra Leone. It has been that way for a while. They made an all-stars artist thing. They're artists. You need people that think about music. Because there are people that are thinking about the money side of things. The creative part is just, okay, we think you have a good product, so we will throw money at it. We will sell it for you. You just deliver for us. That's what they do.
Bring your sauce.
Bring your sauce. And I think that's what we need here. We need a few heads that, have that capacity to think about the music, the business side of music, the branding side of music. You're doing amazing work with Drizzly. He already had an identity.
He does. He has a strong identity.
But what you've done is help to push that identity and let people see.
Right, because you have to tell people what's up. I always tell people that the thing about art is the art is only as important as the art curators and the museum.
Exactly.
Right? it no matter whose kind painting you do na so na the best painting. If art aficionado or curator not tell person say this is a something impressionist painting giving the this of that blah blah blah, it's giving Matisse, it's giving this da 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 da, people don't know what it is.
If you don't point the light,
you have to give people the language of consumption, right? Like you're a taste maker, right? You have to give them taste. People don't have taste. Then go just say it's fine, enough fine. It's sweet, enough sweet. They do not have taste. And so, yes, which is why like my issue with the Ashrabi album was that like, yeah, this painting here, they give me all kinds of things. I don't know. Not to say I don't like them, I like them. But the one that when an art collector, right? It's like they get for book the art apart for let all man take the one way na their own. Instead of when you have a body of work like Shukublai, one person in the collector and say, no, I want this, like go put on a living room. Like I think Drizzly's best song to date for me is This Is Sierra Leone, which isn't even like his original song, it's a copy. But why? It was the storytelling. Like unbelievable storytelling. It's almost like if you write biography of Salone of that day, na the story, like in every way, it's like great stories. Nashito, who are, and again, he's like, I hesitate because who do you think the key stakeholder, when we're talking about these stakeholders in music in Sierra Leone, who are these people in your mind? If let's say I tell me an investor, which I am, let's say me an investor or me a government of Salone. I say to you, Nashito, in the next 5 years from now, we want to have 2 or 3 artists on Billboard, in US Billboard, Afrobeats charts or pop charts, whatever, right? Or we want for charts na London, England, they own, UK top charts or whatever. And I said to you, I have the financial resources. Bring together people, the stakeholders in music in Sierra Leone that you feel will give us multiple genres, first of all, because that's the other thing for me. I keep saying that, like, I think there are multiple genres of music in Sierra Leone that are indigenous to Sierra Leone, that are just underdeveloped, right? How do we who are the people you'd bring together, first of all, to create the genres, right? So the music. Then who are the people that you think are most capable of like building and shaping the music business or the business in Sierra Leone in a way where we kind of create an incubator, right? Where any artist na Salone we na the best, where he enter that incubator, the way it come out with album, way exportable and marketable and get the chances for be a chart-topping global hit. I know that this is hard.
Yeah, it is actually. But personally, I'll first have to look at track record. Okay. Because if we talk about stakeholders generally, it's like basically all man thinks in a stakeholder.
No, I do not agree. I'm
saying that's what most people think.
Yes, but yes, we reject that. You are not a stakeholder. You are not a stakeholders. You are not a stakeholder. Okay. So even some people they get when they watch it and they say, "Now me them for me don't call Yanda." Wait, because they are. You are what you think you're a stakeholder. You are not.
So this is the thing. So personally, I'm looking at track record. I'm looking at what the people who have shown results for what they've actually done. I'm looking at people who probably have organizations or record labels that have results to show for artists that they've actually produced.
Give me 2 people, Nashito.
I would say Kingfisher is one because as you said, Emerson is like one of the biggest who actually come from Sierra Leone. And I'm also looking at Jimmy B. As much as, who's probably now doing most of the behind the scenes. But looking at when Sierra Leone music became popular, he was the pioneer for that movement in the early 2000s in the millennium with the Paradise compilation, bringing Sierra Leone artists together. And we actually saw a shift in Salone music with his involvement. And that's someone who has produced results. And when you talk about people who are going to shape the genre of the Salone music, you're also looking at producers who have produced records that have actually made a breakthrough. And not only about the breakthrough, because music can break through in different forms.
Yes.
There are songs which break through just because there is some financial power behind it.
Yeah, our thing here is exportable, right? Our goal is, it's not just like local break, but we want people who are going to get us exportable work.
Exactly. So we're looking at one thing I will possibly even suggest is that there needs to be some sort of consortium, or maybe there's a synergy should be established, at least when music producers who understand the art, and who of course have produced music that's not only breaking through but creating an impact, which is the most important thing for me when it comes to music. I'm looking at someone like Solo's Beats.
Okay.
When I was in China before I came to Sierra Leone, there was an idea I had, especially in this topic of branding and naming and doing stuff for Salone music for export. Thinking of how best can we begin to develop our own sound packs, like in Sierra Leone for production. Because we're mostly downloading our sound packs from websites, from Nigerian websites and stuff. Getting sounds from other people, and there's so much sounds that we can use from our own music. So I was thinking of initially doing a project of creating our own sound packs and put them also out there for marketing and for sales and stuff. Yeah. And then secondarily of also creating our own plugins that we can use, which has our own instruments, and stuff like that. So I came with that idea back from China, and of course I had the idea, but I was looking for the right people who have the skill set to do that kind of projects. And so those bits was one of us who came to mind, because regardless of him just being a prolific music producer, of course, who also started with Drizzly back then and stuff, but he's a person who locally is using different instruments like 5-gallon rubber, he use plastic, basketball and stuff. And it's like the kind of people, if you're talking about shaping the Salone sound, is a go-to person for me,
Right.
So when you're asking about stakeholders, it's about knowing who is capable, not by just, I don't know the industry for 20 years.
Longevity, not to expertise.
Exactly. It's a matter of the results that you have shown. So I will, of course, I know some of these people, but of course, for saving my head and saving my head, I don't
You don't want Wahala Kulala and stress. So they say, okay, Nashito, these are your favorites. So you don't go call me Pandy Show. Yeah. Okay, no, I think what you've said is, honestly, what you just said is exactly why I wanted to do the show. Because when I listened to Luke Wasserman's compilation, the music that I played in the beginning, the 7 volumes of music, I was like, the first thing, I don't know that it's called sound packs and I didn't know. But the first thing I thought about is that someone needs to create, first of all, the genre, names, and sounds, right? And then name all of the instruments that you hear and record them individually, right? So when you want shebure, you just plug in the shebure sound and the tempo or whatever. That's really what, because he has a 7-volume collection. And I was just like, there must be a way to take this apart in a way where somebody can recompose it to create these sounds on their own, right? And to me, I'm like, that's when you start branding the music, right? You can't export anything until you brand it, right? So I think of 3 types of genres in Sierra Leone. Okay. Are they very different in there? I don't know what's in for call there, but different in there than Ayaso, right? So I was like, okay, so for Bubu, I think of Jankanabe, who sadly, Jankanabe and the Bubu gang, he was making Bubu music and he was living in New York and he passed away. He was already starting experimenting with hot Bubu music, right? Hot Bubu music. And I'm like, okay, is Salone music Bubu music? Should we do we own and piano na Bubu? And if we decide that, can we then create what that sound is? Okay, so that was Jankanabe and the Bubu gang. When I hear that, I think in a nightclub somewhere, in some basement, or maybe not a basement, but I can see a rave party somewhere, or I can see Idris Elba playing this in Ibiza, when he does those big, you can just hear the doonsh, 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 doonsh. I'm like, But that's where I feel like exporting, I have hope that the music will go in the direction it needs to go. As we wrap up today we're talking about exporting Salone music. So as we wrap up the conversation, John, I guess what should the audience do, right? And the reason why I say what should the audience do, the local audience, is that them business to anger, right? This not a place where they reward. Hey, as me, I can tell you. This not a place where they reward experimentation or innovation, right? Even when the innovation is local, like it's a very difficult place. What can music lovers or Sierra Leoneans, the local audience here, what do they need to know about their role or responsibility or their contribution? Because all man they say, this is what they say. The Wale Salone music go worldwide, right? They want to put Salone on the map. Everybody, at least even if they don't, I believe them when they say that, right? But is there also a responsibility on the side of, because we've talked about the stakeholders, right? What they can do. But what do listeners at home, what is their responsibility, or how can they support the industry or the artists in the direction that will make our music more exportable? What do they need to allow? What do they need to listen for? What do they need to do? How can they be a part of the effort to export Sierra Leone music globally?
So this is an interesting question. With art, you can't force stuff down people's throats. The best I can ask the public to do is to kind of have an open mind to the music. I think the onus is on music producers and artists and music organizations, record labels, and the rest. If we keep experimenting, we're going to hit it right. What I'll also say is our local radio DJs and the rest to also kind of, there should be an intentionality from our end.
Sure.
The music industry side of things. If we keep experimenting, if every producer is saying, okay, I'm taking elements of Mina Gumbe I feel like I can vibe with. Take elements of Gumbe, like what Famous has been doing with his music, and he's been successful with it.
Absolutely.
Take elements of Gumbe, change the vibe, change this with this sound, change the tempo of the music, change your beats per minute, fuse the drop of the Bubu with the drop of the Gumbe, and see what works. We keep fusing that. One or two people will start getting it right.
Right.
And once our artists start getting it right, the people will tune into the music. And one thing I like about Sierra Leoneans is that if there's any Sierra Leonean, even half Sierra Leone, even quarter Sierra Leonean, do something where just get small recognition outside, we all live here now.
Right.
So I think once we in the industry, we get something right, look at the Knack guy.
His name is the therapist.
The therapist.
The Knack guy.
The therapist.
Yeah.
Sierra Leoneans own him proudly. We don't care about his mixed heritage.
What's interesting though, what was interesting was that he was recognized for an award somewhere, a music award, and they said he was from Liberia. And I thought that was so like, but it speaks to this thing of like, when you don't have a strong brand, right? Exactly. That you can be misbranded. It no matter for the business success of the song, but naturally, if people don't know where you're from, right? In a world where the lowest hanging fruit is your home-based fans, et cetera, like them knowing this person's from this area, it does hurt you can make hits, but having a music career, right, is something else altogether, right?
Exactly. So once we get the music right, I believe there are people like you who would promote
And I think
music.
people like me again, please come with money, oh. Because the team we don't they happy judge. I know. Let me
No, no,
please. Let
what
me
I'm
squash
saying to
no
you,
because
don't
people
say-
that they listen.
don't-
This is the problem. Wait.
Stop running.
No, it's not a running matter. People do this. The amount of people that really can. I just get me song. Listen to me song. Vicky, I just want to promote me. So, and what I've said and what I want to add to what you're saying, yes, I am absolutely a fan of anyone who is Sierra Leonean and doing their part to make Sierra Leone famous with their work, right? But I can tell and say, before you come to somebody like me, you get for the reach a level in your career where you are branded and ready for export, right? Me na like where you want go na do. Yes, not a way you just begin, you go cancel me because you not get a body of work, right? You not get a body of work. That one single you don't. And I can tell you a funny story. How I had never heard of Drizzleik until David Senge. I don't remember Usiadis. I think it was 2017 or 2016, maybe 2016 or 2017. David Senge sent me the video to the Mami Imoni for Komot. Prior to that, I'd never heard of Drizzleik. And he said, "What do you think of this kid?" Like on Facebook. I was like, and I listened, and I was like, actually, I think he has something, right? Like, I was like, there's something here. If this is like his perspective, there's like a strong sense or identity. Like, I immediately recognized in him today the thing that we've all been talking about his identity and his brand, et cetera, et cetera. But then I didn't pay any more attention, right? He didn't have a body of work. Like, now one can sing, right? So I'm just like, oh, this is nice. I even blogged about it. I was like, I think if anybody has an opportunity to go global, like this kid, look out for him, whatever. I never imagined that years later I'd be working with him. And for years, he would be sending me his and I'm just like, I know the answer and safe, like just not the respond. And he only got my attention when he sent me the intro for Ashobi while he was in production for it in Nigeria, I believe. He sent maybe a 15-second that like the harmonica that you hear in the intro. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, are you like sampling S.E. Roji? And he was like, no, it's Salia Koroma. And I was like, okay. I was like, as soon as I heard it, I heard it. And I was and that was how I got really excited about his work. And that's how we ended up working together. Not in the beginning.
No, definitely.
Not in the beginning. Yeah.
There are people for that. There are people whose
for the
skill set
beginning.
is to like, okay, this is an artist.
Yeah.
This is his identity musically and all of that. So these are some of the problems in our industry. We don't have that many people. I don't think. Who do you think in the industry is dedicated to stuff like that?
Packaging.
Packaging the artist, packaging the musical identity and all of that. Because a lot of artists have raw talent.
Yeah.
But they don't even have a sense of identity.
Sure.
You need somebody to look at them, listen to them, look at their outlook to life, where they're coming from, and tell them, okay, this is who I think you are.
Yeah, someone needs
And
to
this-
say
exactly.
you make folk music.
Exactly.
That's who you are as an artist, right?
Exactly. So that responsibility, we don't have people like that in our industry.
Sure.
So we see a lot of artists. Talking about Burberry. Burberry initially was a rapper. And then he switched to this folk sound that he used in his music. And once he got that part of his identity, he didn't go back. And no matter what kind of beat you give to Burberry, there's a way he sang on it.
Yes.
That was uniquely
He was
his.
so good. He was so good. Yeah.
And that's the artist having to find that by himself. And it took him a while to do it. If there was a professional there who would have seen that early, he would have identified it early and then, packaged it.
Which is why I think we need an incubator, right? We need a music incubator because we not go able get the 111 people then for do the work.
Exactly.
But if we had an incubator for music, right, where the raw talent, all of the elements are there. I'm there, and Nashito is there. You're there. Somebody else in some of the aspect of the music, maybe the writing, something else, maybe the fashion, I don't know, personal style, an incubator where people come, right? And you bring your raw talent. Someone like an incredible JJ will walk in, he sings, and from the moment he opens his mouth, I was like, oh, you're the next SC Roji, right? I have that mental and musical historical reference where if you go other side, people are not go even able make that connection. You understand what I mean? And then you can say, okay, I think you can do this if we did this, whatever. And in maybe 6 months or 18 months, somebody like that could have a body of work that is strongly based on who they are, what their strengths are, but also draws what the global appeal and the global market wants so that we can export it out of Sierra Leone. Nashito, we're going to give you the last words because, you're the diplomat in the room today. Which one of our music genres, right? We don't talk about Bubu, we don't talk about Gumbe, we don't talk about palm wine sound. In your opinion, which one of them, if explored or if explored, right, or developed further, you think has the biggest chance of being that music genre that can come from Sierra Leone within the next 2 or 3 years, where the world will start saying, I want to make a Bubu song or a Gumbe song from Sierra Leone, whatever it is. Which one of the genres that you think we have now, right, has probably the biggest potential as a global export music from Sierra Leone?
From a producer's standpoint, I'll say it's Gumbe.
Okay.
Because with Bubu, for example, it has a very specific time signature.
Okay.
It has a specific rhythm. It has specific, sounds, which, it's just like, for example, like when you talk about amapiano, no matter how you dance around it, it needs to have the log. The log drum is a defining sound. So like with Bubu, it's the Bubu King itself, the bassy and stuff. So the other elements are just supportive, percussions and drums to support that sound. But like with Gumbe, it can easily be fused with any type of music because if you're not using the djembes, you'll be talking about using the triangle, or you talk about using the shegure. There are a couple of elements in the Gumbe drum set which can be fused, because when normally we talk about genres, and now specifically for afrobeats, now we see a lot of music of different cultures being infused into the afrobeat music. So with Gumbe, it stands at bigger potential. Well, except if otherwise John thinks maybe for him it's Bubu.
Oh, maybe John go say Bimbishke.
Yeah, but personally, I think the elements of Gumbe gives a wider variety.
Sure,
it's more diverse to what if we're not only looking at producing Gumbe specific as in Gumbe.
Yeah.
But then we can pick, like you said, like if we streamline the instruments from the drum set, then it gives us more options. Like if you look at the way Afrobeats revolution evolved over time. The form it was in initially when the downfall drivers and
that was my jam.
That sound changed a lot from that point to where Afrobeats is now. But they still use the elements of what was local to Nigerians,
right?
But they had to improve on the way they were used, the arrangements, or maybe the rhythms, or maybe the BPMs that they use for certain productions and stuff.
Yeah.
And over time,
BPM, for those of you who don't know, is beats per minute. Sorry,
okay.
Listen,
we have another producer.
Listen, don't play with me. Don't play with me. Listen, if I had money, you would already have and if I would do the DJ Khaled approach. Like if I was wealthy, I would take a whole bunch of Sierra Leonean artists and producers to an island somewhere and say, I want to make a Salone music album that is like a Bubu album or a Gumbe album. I will make genres, right? So it'll be like all these different artists collaborating to make different genre music and then like have like an all-star. Now that's what I call Salone music. That's what una gelo cano get money. Okay? I have, I'll be there like, yeah, bop, bop. Turn the rhythm up. Drop that.
So when you spoke earlier of the setting up the incubator system, that's why initially I was talking about establishing synergies, especially for music producers, for example, because you realize most of these other genres that took off in other parts of the world, there was what would I say? They became a trend because it was not just one coming out.
Yeah, of course.
So let's say, for example, I would take Gumbe, as I just mentioned earlier, and now, okay, producers, okay, this is the best BPM to work with this type of infusion into the Afrobeats. And let's say we're using like a 115 BPM or we're using like a 110 BPM, and then we produce a couple of songs. So it becomes like the question you previously asked, John, like, what is the responsibility of the consumers? Like you said, you can't force anyone to say because you're Sierra Leone and Sierra Leone music, you must listen to it. Sure. There has to be, that's where the branding comes in. There has to be something, there has to be some value you add to the instrumentation for the people to appreciate it. But then if it's only one person doing it, oh yes, what Sierra singing is good, but then it does not become a thing for Sierra Leone. So when you're able to form that sort of consistency and say, okay, well, we're producing, like, for example, like 10 songs, like you rightly said, maybe like do like an album that is like for Gumbe, Gumbe sound. We're trying to bring the Gumbe sound into the industry. Then we have like maybe 10 random artists or 10 artists who creatively would deliver, and you have like a couple of producers who are also skilled to produce that kind of music. Okay. We develop the sound, we have the artists, and of course top artists who of course have that kind of following and influence and impact in the industry. And the moment you begin to work on projects like that, you begin to see how the identity of Salone music begins to make it smart.
Sure. I'm gonna ask my DJ here again let's see if he can one last time try to cue us up some music before we go. Can you cue up Emerson and Drizzleek's Aujo? I think that's what it's called. Though I'm not sure. Yeah, Aujo. I think Aujo was it was an AudioMac exclusive. I don't think it was. Yeah, it's on AudioMac. I don't think it's on Apple Music or Spotify. Sure. So as he's putting that together, I was going to come to you and say, and basically throw you the same question. I mean, he said Gumbe, so we're going to find a Gumbe song and see if there's something there. Do you think Gumbe is our closest one for export?
I think Gumbe and Pamwan music.
Okay.
I think Gumbe because it's easy to infuse the elements of the drum lines, the different elements of the drum lines into current Afrobeat.
Okay.
Pamwan music is because I think Afrobeats generally is slowing down the BPM for Afrobeats.
Right. Thank you, Thames.
And I think the guitar riffs from Pamwan music can make a distinct sound. Sort of try to grow it and refine it and all of that. Just an idea.
Just an idea.
Perfect.
I'm going to ask my DJ to see if he can drop Drizzleek and Emerson's Aujo.
Bless this beat, DJ Rampage.
Go clean the yard. Now me go cook the beans. Now you go buy the rum. And not do any side on it done. Now Aujo, Ayejo. Now peace and love we count for sure. But we go turn small and stop and pour for the one them way don't go before. Now Aujo, I be your do. If you fall you on and twist you want. We get 50 type as ask for God. Now who that's go turn the pot. Now Aujo, get you on. Call the one them all we know but come. Teach the king and all the neighbor come. Each and every son of Abraham. Now Aujo.
Young boy, teen sweet, can enjoy. Young girl, teen sweet, can enjoy. Enjoy teen sweet, can enjoy. Enjoy teen sweet, can enjoy.
Can you forward to Emerson's section? I think Emerson is there towards the end.
We go take 10 for Master Gun. Bamba.
So good.
If you see me wrong, can't sit down here to the pot, get me plan.
Young boy, teen sweet, can enjoy. Young girl, teen sweet, can enjoy. Enjoy teen sweet,
Come enjoy.
enjoy teen sweet.
Enough. Not so party we can. Yeah. But you hear everything, right? You hear everything in this song. So yeah, I hope that what happens after this conversation, for those of you watching at home, is may this be the start of the Salone music revolution for export, though. Not so for we just did Naya, so they sing because until it exports, it's like we can't make a mark on the world with our music, right? And when one song becomes a global hit, it will completely change and revolutionize what is possible for artists in Sierra Leone. It's like kicking the door open, right? Spotify will pay more. Everybody pays more attention because it's like, oh, okay, Sontin de Naya, Aujo, Tin Sweets. So if you're watching today's show, I hope that it has inspired you to, as an artist or as a creative, to have more confidence and faith in made in Sierra Leone, or Sierra Leonean-ness of things, or the Sierra Leonean-ness in things, whether it's in music or it's art or film, that it's only when we embrace that which is already here and comes naturally to us, in this instance, Bubu, Gumbe, palm wine music, that we probably have the best chance of competing at the global stage, because then we can be one of one instead of the second or third or fourth version of other person in your creation. On camera one is our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Augustin Cargbo, and on camera two is production assistant Alassane Lamine Cargbo. No relation to Augustin Cargbo. We just get Boku Cargbo then at Iskonsky. Our sound engineer and not so good DJ for today, who also is co-producer of the podcast, has been Frank Vin Bob McEwen. In it for practice this fade in, fade out. I'm not to say understand it's not fade in, fade out. So go get for make it practice. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our guests. If you've loved today's conversation, don't forget to share it with your family and friends across all of your social media feeds and on WhatsApp. But if you think that this is a conversation that the world needs to hear, don't forget to leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Audio Mac, or on Apple Pods. Until next time, this is the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. I'm Vicky Rameau. Una tata.